And this week, Congressman Mark Meadows said the House GOP plans on hearing testimony about the DOJ's investigation into alleged wrongdoing by the Clinton Foundation. Joining me now with more is GOPAC Chairman David Avella, Fox News contributor and former Clinton pollster Doug Schoen, and former press secretary for Vice President Pence, Mark Lauder. All right, good evening, everyone. I find you have to give Rush Limbaugh his due. I mean, that was pretty funny. He's not even going to talk about it until we prove there was a private server in the bathroom. But I'm going to go to you first, Doug, because you're the Democrat and you're on set right now.
I am.
Does Ivanka have a problem like Hillary did?
She has a problem, but candidly, it's not the same problem as Hillary. And I don't think private servers should be used. But I think Rush missed the point. It's that the private server was used in the private address, and classified information, as far as we can tell, may well have gone to our enemies in ways that...
During Hillary, Hillary.
Yeah,
well, there's no question.
And that, to me, is far more serious than anything that's been alleged anywhere else.
All they allege, by the way, David Avella, is simply that Ivanka was, appointments with family. It's a family email. But, I mean, what Doug is saying is accurate. I mean, first of all, Ivanka didn't delete any emails, did she?
No. In fact, reports are she actually turned over all of her emails. And what we're seeing here, Judge, is the Democrats are in the batter's box. They are getting ready for investigation after investigation after investigation into the Trump administration, with the icing on the cake being an effort that will be made to try to impeach President Trump. It's what they campaigned on. And here is and people will say this is hyperbole. We know what Nancy Pelosi is going to do as Speaker. She already did it. She put Henry Waxman in charge of investigations during the Bush administration and made every mid-level staffer that the Bush administration appoint go get a lawyer to defend themselves against frivolous lawsuits when she was the Speaker of the House back during the Bush administration.
And Mark Lauder, I mean, Jim Comey made a lot about intent, saying Hillary had no intent to violate the law, even though intent isn't required. But how do you compare the intent of Ivanka as it relates to Hillary's situation?
Well, first off, there can be no intent in this respect, because let's remember, classified information does not go over your normal whitehouse.gov email account. There are special servers that are required for those. So she had to have the intent and her staff to take it off of those servers and put it on a private server. Ivanka sending a few emails back and forth about family, logistics, planning, those kinds of things to government officials while she was transitioning into office is not intent. There's no classified information. And every email she sent to a government staffer while she was transitioning in was automatically captured by the system for the Presidential Records Retention Act in the first place.
Mark, that is exactly the point that people are not recognizing. Everything she did is captured there, and if it were classified, it couldn't have gone through. I mean, who are we kidding
there was
here?
no sledgehammer to destroy devices and no 30,000 emails disappear?
None of that stuff, Doug. But, David Avella, the thing that I think is interesting is that Jeff Sessions announced last year, when there's the whole hoopla about the Clinton Foundation, it took him months to decide whether there was enough to look at it. And he comes out and he says, I'm going to have the U.S. Attorney Huber, I don't recall what state he's from, look into the Clinton Foundation. I'm sorry? Utah. Okay. So he's from Utah, U.S. Attorney, and we haven't heard anything. So Mark Meadows, the head of the House Freedom Caucus, says, hey, guys, what's going on with this? They got a few more months, so they're going to look into it. What do you think?
Well, for those who watch the AMC documentary on Monica Lewinsky, they'll think both Clintons ought to be serving some time in jail. But to this investigation, let me say there may be a more production out of Meadows if he were to look at all of the money Tom Steyer has put into Democratic organizations to elect people who want to be invested. All they want to do is investigate this president and ultimately try to impeach him. Let's not forget what the core of Steyer's grassroots effort is, and that's to impeach the president. So in these final weeks that Meadows is chairman chairman of the committee and can call on investigations, we ought to be looking into things like that.
You know, what's interesting also, Mark, is that Meadows, the House Freedom Caucus leader, is saying that his committee is also trying to secure testimony from whistleblowers who could have had more information about the Clinton Foundation. But do you think anything will happen in this Department of Justice? I mean, there is talk, by the way, that the Clinton Global Initiative got their 501c3 status from none other than Lois Lerner.
Well, I do have a lot of hope in this investigation because the U.S. Attorney Huber, who's leading it, is someone of impeccable credentials. And if we've got whistleblowers, let's remember, this is not just about BleachBit and email servers and classified information, as important as that is. This is Bill Clinton getting a $500,000 speech from Russia at the same time Uranium One was going through, or the Clinton Foundation getting $14.5 million in mysterious donations from companies and groups tied to Uranium One, while Hillary Clinton was allowing most of our uranium to be sold to the Russians. This has some serious potential from a national security perspective.
And Doug, even you have to agree that the appearance of pay for play, you know, I've called the Clinton Foundation an organized criminal enterprise parading as a 501c3 charity. You know,
well,
this
I'm not going to do that, but I think on the simplest level, we ought to find out what happened. What did the investigation show? What have we learned? Where do things stand? I think we have a right to know as people.
What happens if Huber comes out and says, you know what, I'm the U.S. attorney. I ain't telling you. I'm not telling you until my investigation is over. The policies of the U.S. Attorney's Office are you know,
that's fine. I'd like to know that.
You'd like to know
I'd
that
like
at
to know
least
what
they're looking at
investigation
it.
is going on and where he stands. We've been greeted by just radio silence. I think we have a right to know as American citizens where things stand. Whatever he wants to share is just fine by me.
Okay. And David Avella, you know, they say that Jim Comey, when he was the United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York, coincidence, it's unbelievable, was involved in looking at the Clinton Foundation, and then it was abruptly ended.
Look, the wrongdoing and self-serving of the Clintons and all of their allies may very well be trumped, Judge, by this current crop of Democrats and what they are going to try to do to President Trump and what they'll try to do to the courts and every other branch of government they can to bring in investigations and bring in impeachment proceedings, which will be very harmful to our country.
All right. David Avella, Mark Lotter, and Doug Schoen.
Thank you.
Good to have you all
Thank
on
you.
tonight. Happy Thanksgiving to you all.